Hello and welcome to Cyber Career Differentiators, Understanding the Business. This video is a short take based on the live session held on July 22nd, 2021. My name is Julie Chapman, and I'm an information security leader and military veteran with over 20 years of experience in the federal government and in the private sector. I enjoy giving back to the cyber community by mentoring emerging cyber talent. My cyber certifications are Certified Information Security Manager, or CISM, and AWS and Azure Cloud. I've also studied strategic decision and risk management at Stanford University. Cyber Career Differentiators is a 5-part series based on the business acumen and soft skills needed for cyber career success. In April of 2021, I covered communication and all the ways that communication skills, or the lack thereof, can make or break a cyber career. In May, I held a session titled Focus and Problem Solving, and it covered things like specifically how your workplace mindset can influence what you choose to focus on at work. And that in turn can impact your approach to problem solving, and then all the ways that those 3 things can make or break a cyber career. In June and earlier this month, I held a session around cyber credentialing, to cert or not to cert. And that was very lively, very spirited, because together we discussed and learned whether or not cyber professionals need certifications, a degree, both, or neither. I also shared in that session where to find cyber roles, the possibilities for pay, and more. Quite often I see cyber professionals feeling underutilized, underappreciated, misunderstood, and frustrated and stuck in their careers. This session, Understanding the Business, and the subsequent session, Connecting with Leadership, are both designed to address those issues. We started off the session by answering 2 questions. The first was, what was the most surprising thing you learned since you began your cyber journey? And some things that came up were the number and the type of roles that are available, and the amount of pay and compensation that's available. Another thing was just how much there was to learn. So there were a few surprises. The next question we covered was a little more difficult. What was the most frustrating thing you've seen or experienced in your cyber journey? And people shared things like gatekeeping, entry-level roles that have vacancy descriptions which have unrealistic requirements for someone at that level. Another thing was communication from 2 sides. Cybersecurity professionals don't communicate very well amongst themselves and with stakeholders, and the adversary is taking advantage of that. They are taking advantage of our silos and our walls. From the user interface perspective, the architects and engineers, they don't communicate very well with users, and so we have a lot of builds that the users aren't entirely happy with. So those were some of the frustrations. And then, of course, there were the frustrations of bad management, not being listened to, not being heard in the workplace. And a lot of them were very relatable. But this session was designed to help emerging cyber professionals take back their power, because there are things in the workplace that we have influence and control over, and that's what this session was about. So I first asked the attendees to think about their answer to this question, and then I asked them to immediately forget it so that we could go on the journey together, take back our power. We started off with a blank slate. Now, to do this, we thought about businesses and organizations, and the fact that businesses and orgs can take one of 3 tracks. The first track is to sell or deliver goods, things, like clothes, yard equipment, makeup, jewelry. And then the next track that a business or organization can take is to deliver or sell services and experiences. And here we're talking about things like healthcare, care, childcare, government, social media, tours, hospitality. The third track a business or organization can take is to deliver both of these things, deliver goods and services. So with that in mind, we pretended that we were going into business, and it was a really good business model that was basically, guaranteed to be successful. And that is, we decided we were going to sell bottled water. And so I was the CEO, and the facilitator was the COO, and we set up the business in a very common way. We had salespeople, we had finance, HR, legal, manufacturing and distribution, and security. And the bottom line really was that, we sold the water and people bought the water, and that's how we made money. That's how everybody got paid. And so the next obvious question is, where are the cyber folks? Well, there's two places, right? There's core technology, which, maybe the customers use apps to buy the water. And then the other thing core technology will do is build the apps and systems that support finance, HR, legal, etc. And then the second place cyber professionals could be is in the cybersecurity area, which falls under the total umbrella of security. So these, everyone that's sitting around this table here all joins forces so we can sell the water and make money, right? So the real bottom line here is that we are all business enablers. We're not the headliner. We're not the main show. We don't lay down across the train tracks and stop progress. We enable the business. That is our role in cyber. Making that money or delivering that value. So from there, we pivoted into considering what our business is. You go to a party or some kind of gathering and people try to get to know each other. They ask, well, where are you from? What do you do? And so some of us will say, well, I'm in cyber, but that's not exactly it, right? Like you're in cyber, but you're in an organization that has goals and objectives, and the organization exists within the context of an industry. And then there are the people that have experiences based on how you deliver as a cyber professional. So your real business is the industry, the goals and objectives of your business, and then all the people that you touch with your work, the stakeholders. And we went through and looked at all of those. I asked audience members to answer these two simple questions. What does your business organization deliver? And I asked them to share some recent industry news. It was very interesting. A few people had some things to share. So what I did is I gave an example. Let's say I work at Toyota or GMC as a cybersecurity professional. So if I took the mic, I would answer, my business manufactures cars, trucks, and SUVs. And then as far as the industry news, I would share something like, well, COVID-19 has resulted in people staying home. They're not using their cars as much. Some people have lost their jobs. They're not going to buy new cars, trucks, or SUVs. So sales are projected to fall, right? So those were the examples. People took the mic and shared, and it was really interesting because quite a few people could answer that. Some could not, right? And that's not a good thing because this affects your delivery and also your career mobility, okay? You have to know what's going on. Situational awareness helps you to deliver well and to decide what's right for you in your career. For example, if sales are down, the budgets may shrink, right? And the first place that businesses cut from money from the budget to save dollars is things that don't generate revenue, like training and perhaps cybersecurity. So if the business was just a stepping stone for you, this may be your signal to move forward with something else. Just an example. So basically, how do you get this knowledge? It's really, really quick wins here. You look at your company's external facing website and see what they're promising to deliver, and now you know. You can join industry groups on social media. The flows there could be slow or fast. It depends on the group. But my favorite is news alerts, google.com/alerts. And you set up keywords and you get an email every day. I'm not suggesting that you read all of these emails, but I do think it's beneficial to just take 5 minutes and view the headlines, view the highlights, and double click on anything that piques your interest. After a couple of days, you're all caught up on the latest industry trends. You're informed, you have situational awareness. Industry associations and professional organizations are another option. Those usually require payment. Maybe your company pays for those depending on your level or your company policy. But I gotta say, my favorite is the news alerts. It's a quick win. The next thing we did is launch a poll, and it was all about whether or not everyone in the audience understood the goals and objectives of their business and the goals and objectives and deliverables of their workplace, of their specific division or unit, you know. And so a lot of people understood, a lot of people didn't. It is definitely something to work on if you don't understand. The way to get quickly caught up on goals and objectives is the company website, usually internal. If you're in a public organization, they may publish those on the external website. There's also company-wide messaging, internal information and messaging, and all hands meetings. These things are, can take up a lot of work time. So I suggested reading the highlights, reading the headlines, and double clicking on anything that was impactful to you. As far as all hands meetings goes, if they're monthly and they're optional, maybe you commit to going quarterly. And failing that, there's going to be company-wide messaging after the meeting. So take a look at that, look at the headlines, and double click on anything of interest, and you will have situational awareness. Next, we went into the stakeholders path, specifically figuring out how we can understand the perspective of the stakeholders and offering solutions with the stakeholder experience in mind. We took a look at this scenario and we went over who the stakeholders were in this scenario, what the concerns of each group of stakeholders were, and then some solutions. So basically, for example, one of the stakeholders in this scenario is going to be leadership, right? Another is going to be the employees. It's their information, so they're going to want to make sure it's protected, it's kept private, and that folks who don't need to see it don't have access. Leadership will want the same because they'll want to avoid any sort of privacy issue. But they stated their concerns right here in the paragraph. They want to be able to have the information be accurate and available. They want it to be able to analyze it. So the whole point here was to not start with number 3 because we're all very tactical in cyber. Most of us would want to go right to the solutions and the tools and the technology because that's the cool piece. But we really should start with naming our stakeholders and framing their concerns, and then move into solutioning. And any solution that we put on the table that does not address the stakeholders' concerns is not a viable solution, even if we think it's cool. So how do you get this? How do you get this information? How do you understand the stakeholders' path? You begin with the end in mind. You fully understand the ask. You have empathy for the stakeholders. Your solutions should optimize delivery and solve concerns. And people love choice, so you offer multiple options if possible. So the reminder was that these things are your business. The industry that your business or org sits in, the goals and objectives of your business or org, and the people who experience the results of your work. Last but not least is organizational culture. Organizational culture is the shared values and practices of an organization. This is incredibly important for your career. It's important because if there is a misalignment between you and the organizational culture, you won't deliver well. You'll be miserable at work. Taking a look at this graphic, it's not comprehensive. It's an example. You can look at the aspects and features of an organization. You use your eyes and ears and you see and hear what's going on around you. And you can pick up on the trends. And you have to know yourself and know whether or not the organization is right for you. If you're thinking of moving to an organization, I recommend networking with people who already work there and ask them what it's like. And then you can pulse check and pressure test against what you expect and decide if it's right for you. There are 4 million unfilled cyber roles, okay? And it's a buyer's market, so you have a choice. I highly recommend moving with clarity and intentionality. Consider your journey. Consider where you were successful and where you felt like, oh, I don't want to be here. And that could be in a job, it could be in a volunteer situation, it can be in a classroom situation. Think about the types of environments that energize you and try to seek out those environments as a workplace. So that was understanding the business. At the time of this recording, the next topic to be covered is connecting with leadership. And when I finish that, I will simply restart the entire series so that if you have missed any of the live sessions, you are more than welcome to attend. They are interactive, informative, and fun. And what you can learn will stick with you because we are interacting and having fun. And of course, there's the benefit of the Q&A and candid chat with me afterwards. I'd love to meet you in person. If you have any questions, please email cybercareerdifferentiators@gmail.com. Remember to click like and subscribe to this channel. I really do hope that I get to see you in one of the live sessions. Thank you for watching.